We are live. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the ONESREADY podcast. In the chat, let us know if you're hearing us or not. Make sure that we're good to go because there's no point in talking into the abyss if nobody can actually hear us. So, but while we're waiting on that, I want to introduce both of you. Appreciate you joining us. So we've got Ricky Perez, or Master Sergeant type. You are the flight chief for the 330th Recruiting Squadron. And then we have Technical Sergeant or Tech Sergeant, Caitlin Curtis. Sorry, I've been calling you Staff Sergeant this entire time. That was not intentional. So, okay,
she
cool.
Just got promoted. She just got promoted in December, so Tech Sergeant, new
That's
Tech
right.
Sergeant.
Congrats. And I'm sure you had nothing to do with that, right? Right, Ricky?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. Congrats on the promotion, and I'm sure it's well deserved. So, all right. So before we hop into a lot of the frequently asked questions, I know that we've kind of been doing some show prep for this. So we put out a story on Instagram looking for questions because that is the whole point of this, especially having both of you on. Like that's massive because both of you have different experiences through your time in the Air Force, and then also, you know, the kind of recruiting situations that you guys have found yourselves in. So do me a favor, and Ricky, will you give us a little background of what you did in the Air Force before you became a recruiter?
For sure. So I joined the Air Force when I was 18, and the biggest reason I joined was I knew I didn't want to go to college, and just wanted to join the Air Force. Didn't know what job I wanted to do or anything like that. And I think actually my recruiter was EOD. So I was a really easy recruit. I just went in the office and said, "Hey, I want to sign up. I want to join the Air Force. I don't care what I want, I don't care the job or anything like that." So I ended up getting a mechanical aptitude area contract. So what that meant was I chose my job at basic training. So about third or fourth week, I ended up getting a list of available jobs, and I got vehicle operations. So my first base was in Yokota, Japan. I deployed once out of there. I did a PSD driving for a two-star Army general. Basically, he was the commanding general of CIVSOC, Combined Forces Special Operations Command Component. And I drove him from Camp Wastalea in Qatar to Al Udeid Air Base, to the embassy, airport, different things like that. So after that, I got to Kirtland Air Force Base, and I was there for 6 years and deployed twice out of there. One time we were actually stationed in Kuwait, but we'd go into Iraq for the drawdown in 2011. So basically, we'd fob hop, spend anywhere from 7 days to 21 days on the road, and basically just pulled all the cargo out of Iraq. And then I deployed in 2014. It was a base support deployment. And then when I got back from that deployment, I was actually tasked to go again. And at that point, I was kind of at a crossroads with my Air Force career because I had been in eight years at that point, and looking at like what my future would look like, and just kind of my current options. I was actually considering getting out of the Air Force, but then the recruiting opportunity was presented to me, and they asked me if I wanted to be a recruiter. I jumped on it, applied, and ended up getting picked up. So I did 3 years in Kearney, Nebraska, just putting people in the Air Force. And after that, I got an assignment to Salt Lake City MEPS. I worked there for like maybe 4 to 6 months, and then I got pulled into the training and marketing position at the headquarters. And I basically spent my entire 3 years doing that. So I would train new recruiters, I would run the marketing program for the squadron, and we covered Montana, Idaho, Spokane, Las Vegas, Utah. So really big area. And then I've been doing this current position that I'm in since April of 22, and I'm the flight chief for Northern California. We cover all of Central California, all the way up to the border of Northern California. So I have Sergeant Curtis is one of my recruiters. She's in Roseville, California. And I have another recruiter right now, Sergeant Cypress, who is in San Jose. So yeah, we're responsible for special warfare sessions in Central and Northern California.
Awesome. Cool. Well, thanks for that. Caitlin, how about you?
Yeah, I joined a little bit after. Sorry, friends. I didn't join until 2015, so I did a year of college. Just kind of, I guess, realized college at that time wasn't for me. So I ended up coming into the Air Force in 2015 as security forces. My first base was in Wyoming doing nuclear security at the missile fields up there. So I did that for 4 years. Went down to Moody in Valdosta, Georgia. I got to do investigations for about 2 years there, and then was lucky enough to finally get a deployment. With the deployment, I was doing what in security forces we call like the fast mission. So we were flying with the C-130s. Wherever they went, wherever they landed, we'd get off, we'd guard the plane while they did what they needed to do, and then we'd get back on. It was out of Djibouti, Africa, so that was pretty interesting. Got to do a lot of really cool things there. And then I went back to Moody and then got picked up for recruiting shortly after. So I knew that I was going to be a recruiter. I just had no idea I would be a special warfare recruiter. So it was, I found out the first day of recruiting school, actually, that I was coming to the 330th recruiting squadron. So luckily, I had a brother-in-law that just so happened to be a special warfare recruiter. So I was able to kind of get in touch with him, get a lot of information from him on what that would look like. And yeah, got sent out to Sacramento. So my office is in Roseville, it's like a little suburb of Sacramento. So that's where I'm at. I cover all the way down to like Stockton area. And then recently I've been covering Redding and Modesto, Fresno areas as well. But we have two recruiters on the way, so that'll change and I'll just go back to Sacramento.
All right, good. Well, I appreciate that. So what we're going to do, because we've got a pretty bad echo that everybody's saying in the chat, and I've got a couple people texting me. I don't know if you guys can hear it. I don't hear an echo at all. So I'm going to stop the recording, and then hopefully it'll go live again. I'm going to change some settings real quick, and we'll be right back. All right, 1 second, everybody. Where it left off or not. We're going to find out here real fast. But hopefully the echo has been fixed.
Yeah, I was like, it was throwing me off. I was talking and hearing myself, and I'm like, what is going on?
All right, everybody in the chat, let us know. Or Aaron, I know you're watching right now. Shoot me a text. Let me know that the echo is better. So, all right, better now. Awesome. Okay, cool. Sorry about that. I know that can be super annoying. So hopefully you guys don't throw me off a building for that kind of stuff. All right, cool. All right, Aaron Love, Hey Club. Nice. All right, so let's start with, thanks for giving us some of your background. I think it's important to capture not just like understanding where your Air Force history and your Air Force background came from, but I think it helps shape the kind of recruiter you are and the kind of folks that you have, which is important. So let's start with one of the questions that we got from Full Metal Chris 24 on Instagram, which is, what's the passing ASVAB score for pararescue? And is it different than combat control and special reconnaissance and TAC-P, or is it all the same? I'll throw that over to you, Ricky.
Yeah, so the passing score for ASVAB is going to be in the general area, you're going to want a 49. And that's for all of the special warfare career fields, TAC-P, pararescue, combat control. SEER, you're going to need a 55 in the general, and as well as a passing TAPIS score. but yeah, it's simple answer is going to be 49 in the general for special warfare career fields.
Okay. And there's and what I would recommend, and I'm sure, do you guys have in your, in your recruiting offices, or even people that you guys work with that help provide any kind of study material, or apps that you guys recommend or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few out there. We're, we don't endorse any specific company or ASVAB tutoring guide or anything like that. But a simple Google, like, hey, help me score higher on the ASVAB, and you're gonna find a lot of resources there.
Yeah. Caitlin, you got anything on that one?
I know when I was joining, I used ASVAB for Dummies. That really helped me out a lot. I'll usually kind of mention that to my applicants if they are trying to study a little bit beforehand. Typically, a lot of the other recruiters as well will have some study material that I'll email over to them. So, yeah,
Okay.
nothing too crazy.
Yeah, and I think the important thing is to know that the ASVAB is not a difficult test, but it's an aptitude test. So if you are in, like, say you're a high school student right now, you're kind of used to taking tests and stuff like that. And this is probably a little bit different than the tests that you're used to taking. But if you have, say you're 25 and you're out of high school, you're out of college, and you haven't been taking tests, you may want to do a study guide, and you're like, whatever, that's fine. But if you're not in that kind of, mind frame of taking these tests, like, it may surprise you. And like I said, it's not a hard test, but if, there's word associations, there's puzzles that you have to figure out. There's, you just help yourself out. It's just like preparing for the IFT, the initial fitness test. Like, you're not going to go in there blind, right? You're going to train for it, and you should do the same thing with the ASVAB, in my opinion.
For sure.
So, Caitlin, I'll throw this one over to you. Can you get a bachelor's degree coming out of the military after service?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, you can get a bachelor's degree while you're in as well. If you're not trying to wait until you're coming out of the military, there's tuition assistance, all kinds of resources while you're in to be able to get that without having to pay for it. But I mean, even coming out of the military and trying to get it, you have your GI Bill as well. So that's a good source to be able to go to school afterwards and have it paid for. So, but yeah, absolutely, you can get a bachelor's degree coming out of the military. I don't know if Sergeant Perez, if you want to add anything to that.
I mean, the sky's the limit with education while you're in. I mean, not only can you get your bachelor's degree, through tuition assistance, you can get certifications through different programs that we have in the Air Force. I've had multiple friends and mentors and supervisors that have even gotten their master's degree. So yeah, education is one of those big things that is a huge draw for people looking into joining the Air Force. And yeah, I mean, the sky's the limit. It's how motivated you are to go ahead and pursue those benefits.
For sure. And the one thing that we don't actually mention very often is that so you have the tuition assistance while you're in the service. Then you have the post 9/11 GI Bill that you can get, and you can use it while you're still in. Your spouse can use it, so you can do the transfer of the GI Bill too, which is huge. So not only can you utilize it, but your spouse can utilize it, your kids can utilize it. So, like, I've transferred my GI benefits to my kids. So if, whatever, they don't pick up a scholarship, or they decide they do want to go to college or don't want to go to college, or even some kind of certification, whether it's an electrician or something like that, like, you can use those funds to help, pay for all that. So that's something that we don't actually bring up that often, and we probably should, because it's another benefit of the GI Bill. All right. So since both of you are special warfare recruiters, specifically with the 330th, this is a question that we get a lot, and I'm interested to see if you guys have a different take on it. But at what point should a somebody who's interested in special warfare reach out to you? Should they be able to pass the IFT first, or should they come and see you first and then start working the, hey, when do I test? So Caitlin, you're shaking your head up and down. I'm gonna go to you first because that you seem like you've got you're kind of passionate about that one, and then I'll go to you, Ricky.
Yeah, I do. I get this question a lot. I feel like from applicants who will text me or email me and they say they're interested, but they're not quite there physically. So that is something I get a lot. And I think the biggest thing is, well, first and foremost, we obviously need to make sure you're tentatively qualified. So as far as age and different things like that go. But if you're 17, 18, already ready to join, age wise, and you're just worried about your physical fitness, I would say the sooner you can get in touch with a recruiter, the better for you, because we do have the development program. We have the T3I coaches. We have workout plans. So if you're not there physically, that's okay. That's why we're here, is to help guide you and get you there. I think I rarely have someone come out and pass an IFT their first time testing. It's that maybe once every blue moon I'll have someone do that, but ultimately you're not, the goal isn't like, I mean, if you are there already, that's great, better for you. But the sooner you can get in and start getting in with that program and start getting to the workouts and getting that mentorship from us as the recruiters, the T3I coaches, the other applicants, I feel like it's just going to set you up better for success in the end. So yeah, my advice definitely wouldn't be wait until you think you're good physically, because that's why we're here, is to help you get there.
Yep, 100%. Ricky, anything to add to that?
Yeah, there's a couple different factors there when people ask that question. I think the big one, like Caitlin mentioned, was take full advantage of our development program. It's a lot easier and funner if you're working out with other people than just trying to do everything yourself, and you might not even be focusing on the right areas. And then factor number two is come talk to a recruiter and figure out if you're even qualified to do this. Or you could be putting in the work physically, and then you get to our office and then you bomb the ASVAB, or there's something medically that's going to prevent you from even pursuing this career field. So just figuring that out, just getting the pre-qualifications out of the way, and figuring out like, okay, I'm tentatively, medically qualified based on my medical history and all this stuff. And then yeah, just figuring out if you can even pursue this is the big thing that you could be wasting your time, honestly, if you just if you're waiting and not have the qualifications.
Nope, I agree. I would caveat that as I don't think training for the IFT would be a waste of time, because at least you're getting better. But yeah, I mean, you may as well go talk to a recruiter and that kind of stuff. So speaking of talking to a recruiter, like I know we kind of touched on this beforehand, so I'll hit it now while I'm thinking about it. Is you guys are all over social media. You have physical offices. You have work phones, work emails. You're getting DMs all the time. Like Ricky, what is a reasonable amount of time that somebody should wait before they hear back from you? Like they reach out and they go, they came knocking on the door at the office. You guys are at high schools. You're traveling around at events, like so you're not just in the office. So they're trying to call you and text you and stuff like that. Like, what's a reasonable amount of time that they should wait?
Um, it really depends. Like, there's a lot of recruiters are stretched pretty thin. Especially, specifically in my flight, I only have two recruiters covering all of Central and Northern California. So that's two people trying to cover millions of, people. So I would say just, send an email, send a text, leave a voicemail. Like, the more aggressive you are, and the more information you give to, like, I get a lot of emails that are just very vague, like, hey, I'm interested in special warfare. And I'm like, okay, great. Like, how old are you? You know what I mean? Like, the more info you provide up front, then the easier it is going to be for us to reach back out to you. Because a lot of times, like, we do get like spam emails or spam text, and we're not sure if it's like a real person. So if you just give out your name, just some basic information about yourself, who you are, what you're trying to do, the easier that we can help you out. But I would say 2, 3 days. Hopefully we should get back to you. There's other factors, maybe the recruiter's on leave. Are you texting them on Thanksgiving? Are you texting them the day before Christmas? Like,
You imagine
we got a
that,
lot of
dude?
those
Come
things
on. I'm
going.
sure you guys are getting that, like Thanksgiving Day, Christmas Eve. Like, bro, haven't heard from you, man. Like, what's the deal? You're like, I've actually been on leave the last week, so sorry. Is that kind of the same for you, Caitlin?
Yeah, I think so. Especially once I, obviously started covering 2 extra areas, it got a little crazier. So, but yeah, I think definitely if you're texting near holidays, don't expect a response right away. But yeah, definitely 2 to 3 days, I would say we're gonna do our best to get back to you. And I do agree, like the more aggressive you are, sometimes if you just send like one text or call once, but you don't leave a voicemail and you're not saying who you are or anything, it's a little bit harder to get back to you. So yeah, the more information you can provide for sure, the better.
Man, there's going to be some recruiters out there that are going to be pissed that you said that. Be more aggressive. Yeah. Like, I don't know. Okay. Well, I'm going to pause real quick and change subjects since the topic of IFT came up. We have some, I want to say breaking information, but I think it would be important to put this kind of out there. Let's see. Of course, I need to try and figure out. Well, okay. Let me work through this real quick because I want to do a presentation. Okay, well, I'll upload it real quick and then we'll go for that. But so there is a new IFT out and about, and it just came out. It has not been announced yet. You're kind of hearing it here first, which is awesome. But there are some changes to it. I wouldn't say it's crazy changes, but let's see here. I think it's about to start. And yes, for everybody out there, I did not prep this. I thought it would just come right up, and I'm using a new computer. So, okay, there we go. That is the new IFT worksheet. And let me see. Hopefully everybody can read that. But if not, I'll read it right now. So in the narrative portion, it talks about what the purpose of the Air Force Special Warfare test is. So the purpose of the IFT, or the initial fitness test, is to assess a candidate's physical abilities for entry into Air Force Special Warfare, or ASVAB war, EOD, and survival, evasion, resistance, and escape, or SEER. This assessment is comprised of several timed events based on the candidate's desired Air Force specialty. Candidates must pass every test component in one uninterrupted evaluation. Failure of any event will result in an overall IFT failure. So I'm going to put a pin in that real quick. When you guys are out there training and you go, hey, I can do the run in X amount of time, I can knock out all of these pull-ups, push-ups, that kind of stuff, but you have yet to put the test together and do the test in order. The IFT and any of the tests that we have actually are designed to fatigue you as you go along. So, for example, you'll see on here sit-ups, right? You have 2 minutes of sit-ups. Well, you better believe that when you go to do that 1.5 mile run, or that 3 mile run, if you're going for stow, tag, PO, or crow, that your hip flexors are meant to be taxed and they are going to be tired. So all of this builds on each other. So those are the new scores. Just in case you can't read them, actually, let me ask the chat. Are you guys able to read those numbers? I'm yelling. I'm raising my voice like they can hear me. Jeez, that's really bad. So what have you guys noticed so far in terms of trends that you guys have seen as special warfare recruiters that people are either doing well in or lacking when it comes to taking the IFT? I'll throw it over to you, Ricky.
Yeah, I think like you kind of hit the nail on the head. Just a lot of people, especially coming out for their first test, aren't prepared to do this in succession and and do it continuously. Um, so you really got to train to that and just understand that like you're gonna be fatigued when after you do pull-ups, and then you got to do push-ups, and then you got to do sit-ups, and then you got to go into the mile and a half run. So there's that consideration that people need to train for. A lot of times, like people will be like, "Yeah, I can do 50 push-ups," but did you do it after doing 10 pull-ups, or after doing the sit-ups? So that's something to consider. Um, yeah, but the big thing is, like I I attend IFTs on a frequent basis, not as much as Sergeant Curtis, because she's there on the ground, like, with her candidates. Since I'm the flight chief, I'm kind of removed from that a little bit. So she'd probably be a better person to ask that question to, like what she sees, trends, and all that.
All right, what do you see, Caitlin?
Yeah, so I think one of the biggest things for sure is form. So I will talk to a lot of people and they'll, say, "Oh yeah, I can do, 8, 10 pull-ups." And then they get out there and their form for pull-ups isn't what it needs to be. So realistically, they did 4 or 5 pull-ups. So I think definitely just making sure your form is correct for pull-ups and the push-ups and the sit-ups for sure. And then I see a lot of people struggle with the run. Um, However, I will say with that, I feel like it's one of the areas I see people improve in the most. I think it's a little harder for people who are struggling with pull-ups to improve those, whereas they can go out and they start running in a week and their run time is down a minute or 2 minutes. So, but yeah, I think definitely just making sure that form is correct, because if you're practicing and you're putting in all the effort in your off time to try to pass the IFT, but then you come out and your form hasn't even been correct, you're really just setting yourself up for failure because you've been doing it the wrong way.
Yeah, you're 100% right. Like I would agree. I think push-ups, there's probably a good increase that you're able to improve in. Um, I think less so sit-ups, pull-ups, you're 100% right. Like that takes some work to get better. Running, yeah, you can get quicker at it. Swimming, you can definitely get quicker at it. Same with the underwater. Like all of those are really easy, relatively easy to improve quickly. The pull-ups though, that is definitely, that takes some time and a lot of work to put in. So, all right, cool. Well, awesome. This is the new IFT standards. Some of them have changed, some of them have remained the same. So you get a good idea. But if you plan on going any of the Air Force Special Warfare, TACP, CCT, PJ, SR, or EOD or SEER, like you can expect to take these tests.
And just to add one more thing while we're on the topic
Yeah.
of the IFT, um, just to throw it out there, I have some recruiters in my chat, so they're they just asking to I guess foot stomp the new standards for EOD. So those have gone up starting January 1st. There will be new standards for the EOD portion of the IFT. So
Right. And this goes into effect 1 January. So um I'm I'd be kind of surprised if there were any IFTs happening between now and January. There might be, but these are the standards that you should be shooting for, because this is what you're going to expected to get on 1 January. Cool. What else are your recruiters saying in the chat? What else do we need to hit right now?
that's all for now. All
Okay,
for now.
cool. All right, cool.
Big,
Let's go back to some of the other questions.
I'll touch on the EOD standards real quick too. They increased prior to 1 January. It was just pull-ups and the mile and a half run. Now they've included the push-ups and the sit-ups. But something to keep in mind for the candidates out there that are, getting their head, um, to pass basic military training, you have to do push-ups and sit-ups. You have to do the Air Force PT test, which includes push-ups and sit-ups. So, don't get too wrapped up around the axles about, oh, they're adding push-ups and sit-ups. It's you got to do that anyway. So you might as well just start now.
Yep. And if you don't think that the Air Force hasn't started taking a serious stance on the Air Force PT test, you can ask anybody that right, wrong, or indifferent. I'm not saying I necessarily agree with it, but the professional military education, like if you show up to Airman Leadership School, NCO Academy, or non-commissioned officer academy, or even senior non-commissioned officer academy, like you're going to have to do even though it's not an official Air Force PT test, you're still going to have to do an Air Force PT test. And if you do not pass, you do get sent home. So then you have a failure on your book. So the Air Force has started to take a stand to make it, they're taking it more seriously. How about that?
Yeah,
Let's
Sergeant Bunkley recently came back from NCOA, and he was telling us about that. I was like, wow, that's new, but
Yeah,
I'm
I
okay
can
with it.
tell you, you know, at the 57th wing where I'm at, we have definitely had some people that have returned, which again, I don't necessarily agree with the policy. I just and believe me, we have been, from a group and a wing perspective, we have been pushing up to Air Force leadership to have some clarity and have some um, different guidance on it, if you will. So, um, how about vision requirements? What are the vision requirements? I can't remember who I started with last time. So whoever wants to jump in on that one. I'll tell you what, Ricky, how about that? You go with some of the vision requirements.
Yeah, so let's I did send over a good little reference sheet. I don't know if you got it in your email or not.
Not the
Pulled up on
PowerPoint.
my, yeah.
Is it in the PowerPoint?
Yes.
Oh, okay, cool. Well, let me get that loaded up on here then. Man,
Because I'm a visual person and I like seeing everything, so
no,
it's a
you're
little
good.
easier
I'm a Q minus for mission prep here. Terrible, terrible. I'll debrief myself later. I just have to load it into the presentation mode, and then we'll bring it up. Yeah, mission prep for me, not great, because I was too busy stuffing my face, which I saw you told them that I was eating lunch. So yeah, I had just gotten back to the house, let you guys in the lobby, and then needed to eat some lunch. So while we wait for that to come back, we'll come back to that question. Another one is, okay, if I sign a 4-year contract and get through the pipeline, or at what point do they get the bonus? Is basically what he's asking. At what point do they get the bonus? When they sign up and they go, hey, I want to do this. And so one is, how much is the bonus for which jobs? And then two is, at what point do they get the bonus?
Yeah, so I'll take that one. So the bonuses are 6-year bonuses. So you have to sign up for 6 years. There's no bonuses for 4-year contracts. So if you sign up for 6 years for SEER and EOD, it's going to be a $15,000 bonus. For PJ, Combat Control, TACP, and SR, it's going to be a $30,000 bonus. And for the SWOE contract, it's going to be a $40,000 bonus. And you have to make it through the pipeline. You have to, once you achieve your 3-level, or you make it through the entire pipeline and you get to your base, that's when you would receive the bonus.
Cool. And just so everybody knows, the reason why we don't do the 4-year is because what we were finding was it takes a long time to get through the pipeline. And that's if you run the pipeline clean. You don't get injured, you get selected the first time, there's no injuries, there's no, all of your schools line up and everything like that. It still takes a long time. And then by the time you get, if you're going like CCT or something like that, and then you've got to go to Special Tactics Training Squadron to go through that. And then by the time you get to your team, your actual unit, like you're right at 4 years or quickly approaching it. So 6 years makes a lot more sense. All right. Going back to vision, which slide would you like me to go on to? Or is it this one?
So these go into all the specific career fields, and if you scroll through, I mean, it goes into um, the pipeline for each career field, and then the medical requirements for them as well. So it's broken down: pararescue, combat control, TACP, and SR. So yeah, you scroll through there. I guess you can see here. Well, it shows all of them. It just
Yeah.
highlighted green for the specific one. But if you can see there, corrected distant vision, you're going to want 2020. And then uncorrected distant vision for combat control can be 2100. And then, yeah, I mean, you can see all the specific
Yeah.
ones there. I don't know if the people in YouTube land can
That's
see
pretty
that, but
small. They might be able to see it, but if not, we'll get it out there. If you guys want it, we can try and hang it on the site, or if you guys just want it, we can email it to you or DM it to you. But like this brief is good because it gives you all the numbers and then gives you all the specific ones and what you can expect for the respective pipelines. And I'll just
and
keep clicking through.
when it comes to the medical standards for special warfare and combat support, with really any job in the Air Force, like it's best to just talk to a recruiter because there's certain waivers, there's certain ETPs that we can run. So don't just, you know, think that you're not going to be able to do it. It's best. And a lot of these things are case by case basis as well. We you might have a certain vision, standard, and then like I said, we can run an ETP sometimes for those things. But just talk to a recruiter is my the best piece of advice I can put out there.
Nice. And I didn't check these. The slide that I have up right now for the IFT, is that the most current from the IFT score sheet you just sent me?
Yeah, that's correct. I made edits to it specifically for EOD. So
Nice.
the pull-ups went up to 6, and then the push-ups and sit-ups went to 40.
Okay. Cool. All right. And then one of the other questions on here, and I think you may have already hit it, but I don't remember if we have. So I want to make sure we do, is um, in order to take the IFT, they need to have at least gone to MEPS for the first visit, right?
So they need to have, yeah, processed through MEPS medically, get cleared medically through MEPS to go out to the IFT. It's a T3I thing. However, if they are interested in coming out before they've gone through MEPS, they just really want to go ahead and get the ball rolling, they can get a sports physical done. So as long as they have a sports physical signed off by a doctor and they are able to bring that and show the T3I developer, they'll be able to take the IFT that way as well.
Okay. I did not know that a normal doctor's physical would allow them to do that. That's pretty cool. And that opens up the aperture for a lot of potential recruits. So that's good. Thanks for letting us know that one. So Caitlin, I'll stick with you, especially since you have um, other recruiters in the chat right now. One of these, and I think this is actually a good and selfless questions, but how can a prospective recruit make a recruiter's job more easy or easier?
That's a good one. I think for me and for what like I've experienced personally just with my applicants or just people that have been interested, I think the biggest thing is just keep in mind that when you start talking to a recruiter and you're going through and you're taking the ASVAB, going through MEPS, coming to developments and IFTs, like throughout the whole process, it's a job interview. Um, so I think you just need to keep that in mind. A lot of people I feel like get so stuck on when they get to assessment and selection or when they get to BMT, the type of characteristics they need to have. And you really need to kind of embody those even before all that. Like even when you're working with a recruiter, ultimately at the end of the day, if a recruiter is working with you and we can tell like you're just not dedicated, you're missing IFTs, you're missing development sessions, you're not putting in the work, that's not the type of person we're going to want to ship for special warfare. anyway. So I think just keeping in mind you're going through the process. It's a continuous job interview the entire time. So just if the recruiter is telling you, hey, I need you to be here, I need you to do this. We obviously understand life happens. Sometimes things get in the way, but putting your best foot forward, going ahead and already showing that maturity and that motivation and drive and determination throughout the beginning of the process as well, not just when you get to assessment and selection.
Before you say something, Ricky, I gotta say that exactly. You are trying to join us. We are not trying to join you. So everything you do is an eval. Aaron Love, not the Aaron Love Hate Club, but Aaron Love says this all the time: is everything is a competition. Everything is an evaluation. You are always being judged, right? So when you show up to the recruiter's office and you're dressed like shit, or you're just, you didn't even bother to run a comb through your hair, like, dude, you're sending a message on how serious you actually are. So this is your future, even if it's only 4 years, like that's what you're going to do, or 6 years, that's what you're going to do. You're like, dude, I'm just trying to get one enlistment and I'm done, regardless of the job. You're still trying to join us, and you still want to try and put your best foot forward. So go ahead, Ricky. Sorry, I had to go on a soapbox on that one.
No, yeah, I 100% agree with that. That's awesome. I think from a recruiting standpoint, if the easier you can make, I'm all about efficiency. So like the easier you can make the recruiter's job, and having your documents on hand, having your medical, if you had a surgery, getting those documents, if you had medication use, getting those pharmacy records, that's going to expedite the process by a lot. A lot of times people are traveling hours to go see their recruiter. I know Caitlin just had an appointment last week with somebody that drove 5 hours to go see her. So yeah, it's kind of crazy. And when I was a recruiter in Nebraska, I'd have people 3 to 4 hours away come to my office, and I wanted to set them up for success, and I wanted them to come to my office as little times as necessary. It's not really a good customer service standpoint if a recruiter doesn't tell you all the things that you need. And from a potential recruit standpoint, like, just get those documents, because we're trying to make your process as seamless and as efficient as possible. So yeah, getting those documents, having your high school diploma, social security card, birth certificate, all those things on hand will definitely make the recruiter, their job a little bit easier.
Okay, so with that then, like, is there a published list anywhere of documents that they can go out? Like, is it on airforce.com, or do you just want to rattle them off here? Like, hey, if you're going to come here, because you've got 17-year-olds, you guys can't talk to anybody unless they're 17, right? 17 below, you can't talk to them, correct? Okay, so you're a 17-year-old, you're a senior, you haven't graduated yet. Obviously, you're not going to have a diploma, but you guys can still talk to them, right?
Right.
Okay. So minus the diploma, what are some other things that they need to show up with in terms of, okay, so I heard you say vaccinations. I heard you say any kind of surgery that you had, like the doctor's notes and the files from surgeries, any kind of legal stuff.
No, really, it's case by case. It depends on what that recruiter, that applicant has gone through in their life. I mean, we're not going to tell somebody they need a marriage certificate if they're not married. So it's really like your life story, and what that basics are going to be your driver's license. But even then, some people don't have driver's license and they have a state ID. So really, it's case by case. And if the applicant or the recruit just asks the recruiter, hey, what things do I need to bring? When we run the pre-qual questionnaire on you, we'll identify the things that we need you to bring, and we can give you that list. But there isn't anything, not to my knowledge, that's published out there. But a recruiter will be able to tell you exactly what you need.
Yep. But yeah, for sure. But you're definitely going to need to know your social security number. You're definitely going to need a birth certificate. Those are two like non-negotiables.
I do think
Okay.
too, if you just know like you've had major surgeries or anything like that, just going ahead and having the documents from that, because chances are MEPS, they're going to want to see that stuff anyway. So we won't know until someone processes through MEPS what all they really need. But I think having it and then not needing it would be better than, sometimes people taking a month to 2 months to get you documents that maybe beforehand they already could have had, knowing that they had had that surgery or whatever.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. You know, like I said, or you said, it's a job interview. So like you show up prepared. Doesn't mean that you got to show up to a recruiter with a resume. It's not what I'm saying, but you show up prepared. Okay, you guys sent me, and I don't remember which one of you sent this to me, but you sent me 6 questions that you guys definitely wanted to hit, and it's you know, I don't know if these are just frequently asked questions for you guys or just things that are just like burning that you got to get it out there. So I'll just read it off verbatim what you had said. So first question is, after selection, what is the PCS process like? Specifically for SEER, is the process any different for any of the SWOE? So like I said, I don't know who sent that. So Ricky, you look like you're ready to jump in.
Yeah, we sent this out to, or I put the feelers out to our candidates in our band app, and these were the ones that I received. Yeah, I mean, PCS process, specifically for SEER. So when you PCS, the process is pretty much the same for any career field. I mean, you're going to, you know, pack up your house, you're gonna move to a new location. So um, for I'm not 100% sure like what they were referring to, but I did send you that PowerPoint with the pipeline of SEER and moving on to the different schools and all that, but um yeah, I'm not 100% sure what they were referring to on that one as
Okay.
far
Well,
as
I
like
mean, for
what
SEER, I can tell
differences.
you, like, as soon as you finish the pipeline, you're gonna end up at Fairchild. You've got to do basic instructor for SEER. You're going to go through their upgrade process, because as a SEER instructor, you start at a basic level where you are teaching air crew members, you're teaching other aspect war whenever they go through SEER school. Like that's what you're teaching. Once you get your upgrades and all, and you start getting your 5 level, 7 level, and you start venturing out into other worlds, that's when you start getting into the more specialized stuff. You can go to different bases and that kind of stuff. So in terms of SWO-E, like if you're going to be let's say attack P, you finish your pipeline, you're going straight to your unit. Like you're not going to special tactics training squads or anything like that. You are going to your unit and you're going to start upgrade training, um, like any other job. So rest of the jobs in the Air Force, there is no pipeline. It's BMT, tech school. Once you finish tech school, then you go to your respective base. Like that's the way it is. PJ, CCT, SR is slightly different in the way that you have all of those schools. And then depending on whether or not you go AFSOC or you go Air Combat Command in terms of your major commands, that's when you either go, if you're going AFSOC, you're going to go to Special Tactics Training Squadron. If you're going Air Combat Command for the PJs, you're going to go to your unit, and then you're going to hit the FTU at a certain point for your upgrade, all of your CFETP items. Oh man, what does CFET stands for? Career Field Experience Training Plan.
Training plan.
Boom.
Training plan. Yeah.
Got it.
Close.
Speaking way too many acronyms. So,
Yeah.
another question, or the second question was, and Caitlin, I'll throw this over to you, is what are some of the typical TDY assignments for special warfare? These seem like they're questions for me. Is that what
Yeah, I think you might be better
okay.
to
All right.
answer that one.
Because I didn't read them ahead of time. Everybody knows I don't do show prep. Okay. Which is shown during this, but okay. So what are some of the typical TDY assignments for special warfare? Specifically, are there any recommendations for SEER specialists to attend? Well, as a SEER dude at a base level, I already kind of talked about it. You're going to have to wait um, until you kind of get your upgrade. You got to make sure that you're a good instructor up at Fairchild, able to teach, able to publicly speak. So if you were actually going to prep and you're for SEER, as well as taking the IFT and training and doing all the physical stuff, if you could intentionally put yourself in front of crowds to publicly speak so that you can get used to it and become comfortable with it, that's going to set you up for success, because in SEER, you are going to do a lot of public speaking, because you're going to be teaching, A1Cs or airman first classes to senior airmen, staff sergeants, all the way up to lieutenants, captains, majors. So be used to speaking publicly. In terms of other TDYs for special warfare, I mean, there's so many. You can go to different shooting schools, driving schools, advanced medical schools. There's professional development schools that are part of the military or even outside of the military that are civilian sector. There's mission planning schools. I mean, it's kind of endless, and that's kind of schools that you go to when you're already on the team. There are, you can go to sniper school. You can, like, there's tons. It's endless. I'd have to actually sit down and go over a list. You can go to ranger school if you want to go to ranger school. It doesn't mean that you're going to go to, second bat or anything like that. But what it means is that at least you're going to have a ranger tab and you will have gone through ranger school, which is a pretty awesome opportunity. And that's open to us if you want to go to it. So, lots of TDYs, you can go to close air support training, whether it's here at Nellis, where we are kind of the close air support and just the Air Force kind of center of excellence at Nellis, or you can go to Florida and do close air support there. Just I'm kind of sticking with close air support because that's been most of my TDYs that I've ever gone on, but it's been a mixture of a bunch. So I'll hit these real quick. In a previous One's Ready podcast, the term soft SEER was used. Oh boy. Okay, I'll navigate this one. This is going to be my opinion. This may not be the opinion of everybody else, but it wasn't soft SEER, SOFT. That's just what the AI algorithm called it. But so it's actually SOF SEER, Special Operations Force SEER. Now, I was actually talking to the Special Tactics Public Affairs Office about this because this was news to me. Every SEER person I know starts off in, like how we kind of talked about it, they're at the basic course, they're teaching at survival. Now, only when I was talking to the career field functional manager about this just about 2 weeks ago, because I was curious about soft SEER as well. It was new to me. What they were talking about is creating or doing a kind of assessment selection after a SEER dude is already, 6 years into their career, 8 years in their career, where they can then jump into SOCOM and Air Force Special Operations Command. Only about 5% of SEER actually goes that direction, whether they're selected or whether they're interested in it. And let me see if I can bring up, I will not bring up his text because I don't want to call him out on it, but I want to make sure I had his number. So there are 600 total ish, that around 600 SEER folks. And then there's only 14 SEER dudes at any of the RQSs, so the rescue squadrons, and that's in Air Combat Command. But that's where he's at right now. So there's not very many of them. So soft SEER was kind of a new thing for us that we had kind of just heard about. And basically it's just them. So anybody that we get into the special tactics units, they're going to have to go through a selection is basically what it is. It is not a doctrinal or recognized by Special Operations Command of it being its own entity. I probably just confused more people, but Aaron will back me up Aaron will save me in the comments. Is it my understanding that SWOE is placed in a separate flight for BMT? Is that the case? So this is all SEER stuff. well, you guys know just as well as I do, SWOE does have its own, but it's not a SWOE flight. It's called like it's an ASVAB war flight, right?
So SEER and EOD will be on like regular BMT flights. They could be with a bunch of other career fields. So special warfare, SWOE is the only ones that get placed on flights together in BMT.
Okay. So,
The biggest difference between those two, so we had the opportunity to actually visit BMT and walk around and tour those flights and just see different areas of the special warfare training wing down there. So I would say the big difference between like a SWOE flight is that they're going to have a lot more time to work out, and I believe they give them even like a pull day like once a week or once every other week or something like that. Um, but with the SEER and the EOD guys, they still they still let you guys have extra time to work out. They'll a lot of times the guys will just naturally congregate together and work on their push-ups and sit-ups and pull-ups and all that stuff just together. But for SWOE, like they have to wake up a little bit earlier. They have to run a little bit more. They're working cows a little bit more. They get visits from the Special Warfare Training Wing, and they have a lot of um, things at their disposal to be as successful as possible once they arrive at SWAS.
okay, cool. Um, man, I'm gonna skip 5, not for any reason that it's just like not big and it's very specific. But number 6, if you have your degree, at what point in your enlisted career is it recommended to switch over to special warfare officer? Um, sorry, officers, no, don't do it. That the listen, you can swap over kind of anytime. The biggest thing is we have folks that are enlist that have degrees or get degrees while they're enlisted. They remain. I have a degree as well, and I continued on. What you've got to figure out is, what do you want to do? Do you want to continue to be the tactician, or do you want to be more of in a leadership type role where you get 3 to 4 years on an actual team, and then you start going to the professional development schools, and then you come back and be the director of operations, and then you go to more schools, and then you come back and be the commander. So you can go that route. But when I say being a leader, guess what? We are enlisted heavy, and our enlisted are the ones doing the mission. They are the ones that are still leading. So just because, like, I know that there's kind of a misconception between only officers lead and enlisted don't, like, that's insane. Like that's just straight ignorance, because I bet, um, you, Ricky, Master Sergeant Perez, leads your flight. You're not looking to an officer to lead your flight. You know what is best for your flight and your people to help get other people promoted, like Caitlin. Now, that's not taking away, Caitlin, from things that you did, because you are the one that did the work,
Yeah.
right? But I mean, we are, as enlisted, you are still leading your own people. Am I off base here?
No, 100%, 100% correct. And I think, you hit the nail on the head. Like we're all leaders, and when you're in the Air Force, you're expected to be a leader. I mean, you got to lead yourself first, right? It starts there. Like once you come in, you're doing the job. You got to lead yourself before you can lead others. And the great thing about the Air Force is throughout your time in the Air Force, your career in the Air Force, you will be placed in positions of leadership, and you will have people to lead. And you it's not like you're just given people and you're told to lead them. It's you're getting training, you're going to different schools, you're getting the expertise. But like I said, you got to lead yourself first, and then you can lead a team, and it just grows from there. And going back to the whole officer question about the degree, I think that's a very common question that we get. A lot of people think that because they have a degree, it that they should come in as an officer. And really, it's like you kind of mentioned, it's what do you want to do? Like what is your goal? Like do you want to do the job, but not to say that officers don't do the job as well, but they're just different levels of it. Like, do you want to experience what it is to be a mechanic, or do you want to experience what it is to be security forces or whatever job you come into? Just because you have a degree doesn't mean that you should go in as an officer. It really comes down to what your personal goals are and what you're trying to get out of the Air Force.
Yep. Caitlin, anything on that one?
Yeah, I think just going back to like enlisted leading as well. I mean, I've obviously had closer relationships and mentors that are enlisted, like Sergeant Perez and other like master sergeants, senior NCOs that, um, I guess like have led me throughout my career. And that's not a hit at the officers. I think sometimes they're just they're managing such big groups of people that if you're wanting to have like those personal relationships and lead from that standpoint, yeah, definitely enlisted. I think most of my mentors are all enlisted. So yeah.
Yep. That's right. But to clarify, just my point is, you even if you have a degree, you don't have to go officer. And you're right. It depends on what you want to do. If you want to be the tactician and stay on the team for as long as you possibly can and do the mission, you stay enlisted. Maybe you can do both. Maybe you just do 10 or 12 years as an enlisted dude, and then you swap over and go officer. That is also an option. People do it all the time. Now, just to be clear, if you're going to go officer from enlisted, you still have to get selected. It is not oh, okay, well, I'm a tech sergeant CCT. I'll just swap over, go to OTS, and now all of a sudden I'm a special tactics officer as a first lieutenant. That is not how this works. You still need to go do an additional selection. Okay. Well, we've been going for an hour. How are you guys on time? Am I hogging too much of your time?
Good.
No,
We'll take
I'm
10.
on leave today, so
Great. Look at that. Way to go, me getting you in on while you're on leave. All right. So I'll go to the chat here and see what questions we have. Maybe we'll just do a rapid fire kind of question. Can a soldier in the Army attend ANS for Air Force Special Warfare? No, you need to be in the Air Force. How soon can someone cross train into special warfare? Do you guys get cross training questions a lot?
We're at Travis or around Travis, so we've had some individuals that are interested in cross training come and attend our development sessions and our workouts and stuff like that. But we don't deal. We deal with non-prior service and prior service. We don't deal with people that are in the Air Force and are trying to cross train into something else. For that, you're gonna have to talk to your career advisor on your base, and they can give you. I believe they publish the special. It's like 2 cycles a year or something like that for special warfare retraining. You just
Yep.
gotta look into it.
Yep, that's right. And usually I think the sheet last time said that there was 50 slots available. That's a guideline because they have to put some in there. They can't put NA, but as long as you are submitting that package and everything is good and you're within your cross training window and all that kind of good stuff, and you don't submit a package that looks terrible, you've got good scores that are passing for IFT, like you will likely get your shot. At the same time, you might be in a career field that may not release you, or actually, I think that memo still exists, so they have to release you unless you're in another critically manned career field. At the same time, don't necessarily come in thinking like, oh, I'm just going to do X job and then cross train, because you may end up having a supervisor or a work center that, like, sorry, you're working 12s, and security forces 12s isn't really 12s. It's like 14s, right? Because
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not just like, oh, look at
Arm
that.
up, D-arm. Yeah.
Yeah. So, you got to get the post brief, you got to get all that kind of stuff. So 12 hours is not really 12 hours. It's 14. So, yeah, don't come in expecting to cross train. And I caveat that by saying, you know, if you're in a bad situation or you just need to get in and you'll figure it out later, like that makes sense. And I would totally support that. No recruiter. Man, there's a lot in the chat here. But I don't see any additional questions. Oh, wait a minute. Here's one. I'm currently a college student. I'm interested in becoming a stow in the Air Guard. When should I apply? Is this specialty code? Oh, it was already answered. Never mind. Okay. Well, we'll close it out here, especially because you're on leave, Ricky. I don't want to take up too much time. So I really appreciate both of you coming on, being able to do this, especially live, because I don't think we've done it live with any recruiters yet, and it can be a little bit daunting, you know, knowing that you can't go back and go, hey, can you edit that out? I made a mistake. Obviously, I fumbled my way through this, and it'll be successful. We got a lot of good information out there, so I appreciate you guys joining us, and you're always welcome to come back on if you have something out there that you're seeing that you need to get off your chest, or I need to get it out real quick, and you send it to us, we'll hit it. So thanks for coming on, and thanks for what you're doing for the Air Force in the country. And everybody else out there, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, visit us on ONESREADY.com, and we appreciate you joining us in the chat. We're out here. Light up. Don't hang up, guys.
Okay, guys.
All right, cool.